Hi, so we're here to have a conversation around kind of your calling. You're both young adults serving in the church, and so we're just going to chat a little bit this morning about what that looks like for you. So do you want to quickly introduce yourselves?
Hello, I'm Duncan and I lead the internship programme in the diocese. I've been here for about 7 years.
Great.
And I'm Laura. I work as part of the discipleship and ministry team in the diocese, looking after online learning, anything to do with comedy stuff, tech, and supporting lay training specifically.
Great. And any filming that we need as well. Which has turned out very helpful. Tell us a little bit, maybe Laura will start with you, but tell us a little bit, how did you end up working in the central support team for a diocese?
So, how long ago would it be? 5 years ago, I did the diocesan internship at the church where I was a student. So I just graduated, wasn't really sure what to do next. I'd heard about this internship, felt like God called me into that. So I did that. So that was a church in the city centre of Nottingham, and I was working in the comms there, so looking into comms for the church.
Started all the way back there.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So I did that for the year, and then carried on working for the church in a paid role after that, just part-time, and then ended up in the diocese. There was a maternity cover, actually working with the internship scheme, so covering some of the admin of that.
Okay.
So I did that part-time alongside the work I was doing at church, and then sort of moved into this role probably halfway through that year when I was doing maternity cover, looking at developing our learning hub, which was from scratch at that time. So looking at how do we use the online world to support training in the diocese, and then since that I've developed that across not just our team but across the whole of the central support team at the diocese.
Great. Okay, so some common threads running through since your internship actually.
Yes.
In your skills and kind of how you've used those as a disciple in the church.
Yeah, and I think when I initially looked at the internship, I was thinking, well, I can't do a church internship.
Yeah. I
don't want to preach. I don't want to lead services. I don't have a particular passion for kids ministry or like all the classic things.
Okay.
And I think the team at the church at the time said, okay, what are your passions? What are you looking at? What would you be interested in doing? I did a business degree. Thought, I could do some comedy stuff, or I could do something in the office, and sort of develop skills from there. And actually, they gave me the space just to learn how to use Photoshop, learn what it looks like to run a social media page, and that sort of thing.
Great, and we're very grateful for that. Duncan, how are you doing? What you're doing?
Yeah, well, I moved to the diocese to be part of a church planting team, and that was for 1 year, and similarly wasn't sure what was next after that, but I connected with Bishop Paul Williams and worked for him for a couple of years, the sort of ministry assistant role, and whilst I was doing that, I was connecting with younger leaders in the diocese and created a bit of a community network. And then from that, a role came up to officially lead the internship programme. And that was 4 years ago. So
that sounds crazy. Thinking back,
time has flown.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of the journey, sort of different opportunities.
And what does kind of leading the internship kind of look like in a kind of the short version?
Yeah, we've got 2 programs, a first year program and a second year program. A lot of my job is creating the teaching, the content, the support structures, working with the team, and then all the practical stuff, finances and
so it's a general oversight of it all. and I'm intrigued. The bishop picked up on kind of you from your time coming up with that church plan for a year, and then you had a couple of years as a 25-year-old, 26-year-old, kind of 24 maybe, in a bishop's office. I mean, what did the bishop? What do you think the bishop saw in you that meant he wanted you to kind of be around as that ministry assistant?
Yeah, it was quite an unusual thing. There weren't many peers in different dioceses doing this role. If they were, they didn't look quite as young as me. I think a lot of my role was leading worship, and he saw that gift, that hunger in me to create a space of encountering God. And yeah, I'm not really sure what the thing was, but he
We won't ask the bishop.
he might not be sure himself, but we spent a good amount of time together in that first year that I moved up. I think that was the key thing. He knew me as a person and trusted me enough to offer some sort of role.
Okay. And so for both of you actually, people saw gifts that they kind of wanted to kind of use and release in kind of slightly different ways actually, not kind of standard pathways necessarily, but also there was the relationship. You'd been at your church as a student for a few years, so people knew you. The bishop had got to know you in that particular way, so kind of those next steps were actually about kind of that contact time and people trusting and investing in you as, I mean, 21-year-olds presumably, sort of a couple of years older for you, but
without the relationship it wouldn't have happened at all.
Okay, great, that's really helpful. And one of the things, I mean, we were chatting before we kind of turn the camera on, as it were, but you guys are young, you work in what we call Jubilee House, our kind of central support team for the diocese here. I mean, what's it been like kind of being a young adult and, you know, both in your 20s at least when you started the role? I mean, what's the kind of perception been as you've talked to people? How's it felt kind of being a young adult called to this central role?
I think I find it quite interesting because a lot of the people I work with, particularly within lay training, are slightly older, and are usually sort of surprised that I work for the diocese because they sort of have a standard person they expect in their mind.
There's a few stereotypes.
But I think I found it really rewarding to hear from them about like their experience within the church, and I think vice versa. I would hope that I've helped them and support them in their training.
So some good kind of intergenerational crossover actually. I'm young and at the centre for now, perhaps, but you guys have got so much that I've grown in.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think there's been moments where people have been like, oh, are you sure you know how to do this? Or are you sure you know how to take that responsibility? And I think actually having the team support me in doing my role and feeling empowered to do that then helps, feel like I can do what I do and show people how I do that.
Yeah, great.
It's been good.
Yeah, I mean, 99% of the time I've not been aware of my age really compared to others. That's my honest answer. I think there's a real culture of empowerment, and if you've got the skills and the character, then your age is not the most important thing. So people are happy to trust you if you've earned that trust, and that's what I've experienced working here, which is amazing.
And I mean, you both talked vaguely positively about that, but I just, in terms of people seeing young adults leading in, you know, kind of more upfront ministry perhaps, but, you know, some of the support team as well. I mean, there's got to be positives to that as well, right? That kind of, you know, people look at you, at us, I'm counting myself as well, but you know, go, oh, well, you know, if that young adult can do it, you know, maybe I can. Have you experienced that a bit, or?
Yeah, I think there's been a bit of a culture shift since I started. Our team has more younger people, and it's a much more accessible thing to step into those roles now than it was before, I think.
Yeah, and I think getting a chance to sort of network with, I guess, through some of the stuff that Duncan does, but also with other people in the diocese, it feels like there's a lot of people similar age doing lots of different roles, which then I think then feels easier to do a role in this team, because a lot of the things you're doing it with people who are younger as well. So
you're not always having to play the age up card.
No.
Okay. Great. Okay, well, we're heading towards the end of our conversation, but I asked you both if there was just something you'd want to say to kind of a workshop full of people about who are thinking about how they can strategically raise up young leadership, young vocations across the church. What would you want to say?
I think it's like, who are the young people you know, even if there's one person in your church, get to know them, build that relationship, and ask them, what do you think your skill set are? What does that look like at work or at university or at school or wherever that is, and how can we use that in the church? And just giving people the opportunity to try things. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. An opportunity to have a go.
I think I'd say be prepared to spend time with people. Often we want the quick fix or the group email and expect people to come to an event. Or I remember before I moved to Nottingham, I lived in London, and Bishop Paul had about an hour and a half with with me and with a couple of the other interns who were moving up.
Yeah.
We'd already said yes, so he wasn't trying to convince us, but he just saw the priority in spending time and getting to know us as people. And in order to invest in vocation, it will take time.
Yeah. Okay. So releasing gifts, creating opportunity, and creating relational space. Yeah. Your top three, let's say.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks so much, guys. It's been a really interesting conversation. Thanks for your time.